Give us 1 second to try and heard someone say they can't hear our mic. Give us 1 second. We'll hop right back on and we will try to get this straightened out. 1 second. Testing, testing. Can you guys hear me? All right, we got a person watching. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I want to make sure you guys could hear me this evening. All right, my name is Brenton Harrison of Escape Student Loan Debt. We are an online education company with trainings that offer debt reduction, debt elimination, debt reorganization strategies for federal and private student borrowers whose payment or balance have become a major barrier in one aspect of their life. It could be their dreams of homeownership, their credit, their relationship. Whatever it is, we offer trainings that can meet that objective. I want to welcome you guys to tonight's training. We won't be here long tonight. I want to tell you very quickly about a student of ours who was being burned by student loans that weren't even hers. So we're going to get into that story. I've told you about the fact that many of our students gone to HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. And the student that we're talking about tonight was no different. She went to a private HBCU in Louisiana. Very small school, kind of similar to the school that I attended. Less than 2,000 students. Everybody knew everybody, and definitely a place where you start to build strong bonds with the people with whom you go to school. Well, for our student, it was the exact same experience. From the first week of orientation, she was meeting people that she would, years later realize these people are like sisters to me, and I have just such a strong bond. But none of those bonds were stronger than that she formed with her friend Danelle. Now, for the sake of Danelle, we have changed her name. It's not actually Danelle, but this was a person that our student formed a really strong relationship with. And if you remember college, you remember that during that period of time in your life, there was probably someone who at that time you could just tell, at least based on your limited knowledge, was going to be successful. Maybe you didn't feel that way about yourself, but you looked at this person and they're acing all the tests. They're in the major that you know is going to make crazy money. And that was Danelle. Danelle was a poli-sci major who had plans to go to law school. And at that period of time, it looked like between our student and Danelle, Danelle was going to be the one that had that more defined, more guaranteed route to success. Because our student was a marketing major. Not that you can't make crazy money, but she was really only a marketing major because she didn't know what else she wanted to do. So throughout that whole period, first year, second year, third year, they're good friends. Danelle is killing it in school. And towards the end of first semester of their third year, Danelle came to our student with a problem. If you are unaware, there is actually a limit on how much you can borrow in student loans as an undergrad. And Danelle had reached that limit. She hadn't been managing her loans well. She'd been spending money from student loans on trips. It just wasn't something that she was managing well. And she was afraid to tell her parents that she needed more money than her loans would allow her to have. So she had decided that she was going to take out a private student loan. And she found a local bank that was willing to offer her that loan, but she needed a cosigner. And that's where our student came in. And if you have ever co-signed for a loan, then you're aware that when you do so, you are taking an equal responsibility to repay that debt, even if it wasn't used for your schooling. But that was not something that either of these 21-year-olds knew at the time. Danelle just came to her friend and said, I need some help. The friend said, I got you, girl. They co-signed for that loan together, and they went on about their business. Matter of fact, how much risk could it possibly be when Danelle was going to be a big, high-paid attorney? So not only did she help Danelle that semester, she helped her in future semesters so that at the end of that schooling period, when they were graduating, they each owned about $20,000 in private student loans. Now, around that period of time, Danelle needs to start studying for the LSAT. So she studies and she sits in her first semester of her senior year, and they're waiting to get the test results back so she can figure out which law school she's going to apply to. And unfortunately, boom, she completely bombed the LSAT to the point that there was really no benefit to her applying to her law schools of choice, because she knew with that score, she just absolutely wasn't going to get in. She had anxiety when she was taking the test, and she's just sitting there saying, I got to try this again. I got to maybe go find a job that I can put on my resume while I study some more, and I'll try to take it again. So Danelle tried to take the LSAT 2 more times. Boom, boom, bombed them both times. She's devastated. Our student's devastated because she loves Danelle. Danelle's family's devastated. And Danelle was having such intense anxiety that she decided that she was just not going to be able to go through that process again. She could not face taking the LSAT for a 4th time. And she decided that being an attorney just wasn't for her. All of that motivation that she had seen and Danelle, in terms of our student looking at her friend, was gone. All of Danelle's abilities and her confidence in what those abilities were was gone. And she went down a path of just job by job, never really finding any passion, never any motivation to try to progress, just doing some things to pay the bills. And during that process, she was completely neglecting her private student loans. She was forgetting to pay some months. Some months she just really didn't care. Those loans reminded her of the thing that she wasn't going to be able to do with the life she had in store for herself. So it was just something that she would rather just ignore. But remember, when you co-sign for a loan, you are taking on an equal responsibility to repay that loan, even if it wasn't used for our own schooling. So every time Danelle did this, our student was seeing her credit score crushed by Danelle's poor behavior. And fortunately for our student, she had actually began to see her career take off. She was working for a small firm, a boutique firm in the New Orleans area. She was getting paid more. She'd bought her first house, and she was even at the point where she was trying to buy her first rental property just outside of New Orleans. She started talking to lenders. She started going through the process of getting approved for the second loan, and she was told that she wasn't going to be able to do so because there was something that was harming her credit report: missed payments on Danelle's student loans. Now, to this point, she and Danelle were still close, but the private loan was a sticking point for them. It was a sore spot because every single time they tried to figure out what was going on, it just devolved into a huge argument. But now we're getting to the point where our students' finances are being wrecked because of Danelle's lack of motivation. Terrible situation, especially when you're considering 2 friends going through it. So what do we provide as a solution to these 2 college-long friends? I was going to say lifelong, but college-long friends. Well, the first thing, this is not a story where we magically made all of this better. Some of this just sucks. Co-signing for a loan where the other person is not taking responsibility is not the easiest thing in the world to get out of. But one of the first things that we did do was we set up a communications channel so that our student would be notified just like Danelle would for any comings and goings regarding their loan. They would be alerted when there was a payment upcoming. They would be alerted when they were in danger of having a late payment. They would be alerted if there were any changes as it pertained to that account. So now we have equal communication, and our student, even if they needed to go in and make a payment themselves to make sure it wasn't missed, at least now they would know that it was possible. But the next thing that we did was we opened up the communications channel between these 2 people and put them on a path so that eventually, with some hard work on Danelle's end, she would be in a position where, combined with our student's credit, they would be able to co-sign on a refinance loan with another lender. So this sounds like it's not really much benefit. Why are we taking one private loan at one lender and just saying we're going to find another private loan or private lender for that same loan? Well, here's why. If you have finances that are strong enough, even on a co-signed loan, there are some lenders who offer what's called co-signer release. And that means that if the co-signer gets to the point where they feel their co-applicant should be able to stand on their own 2 feet without the assistance, they can apply to have themselves removed as a co-signer on that loan, even though it's still standing, even though it's still due. The current lender that Danelle and our student had did not offer co-signer release. But we found that by working and refinancing with a new lender that did offer cosign release, we put them on a path so that they would be able to eventually have our student removed from that loan. And we also did that loan refinance at a lower interest rate. And when we did that, it allowed her credit to improve with a few months of consistent payments. And it also allowed her debt to income ratio to decrease because that required payment was lower than what they had with their original lender. When we did this, no, it was not, hey, in a month, we're going to be able to refinance this loan and you're going to be able to get the rental property of your dreams. This is one of those stories where it took about a year's worth of work to put this loan in the situation where Danelle could go get that rental property and be on a better path with that private student loan. It's not about doing everything overnight, but this year of work that we put in still allowed Danelle to eventually be in a significantly better situation that repaired her relationship with her friend, our student, and allowed our student to eventually get that rental property that she'd been waiting on for the past year. So this is a little bit different story. We've given you some testimonials of people who had their situation turned around immediately. This is not one of those, but it's still important so we can highlight that not all solutions are going to be immediate. There are still some things you can do that are beneficial that take a little more work. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, it might be 3 years, but at the end of that period, you'll still look back and be happy that you're in a better situation than you were when you started. Thank you for attending tonight's training. Once again, my name is Brenton Harrison of Escape Student Loan Debt. And if you are an established professional and you need that step-by-step process that for our students will help eliminate, reorganize, consolidate, refinance your student loans, then I invite you to check the link at the end of this video and the link at the bottom of this video so we can get started on a plan for you. See you soon.